Okay, yeah, there I am. This is a quick video to explain two terms that I'm going to be using for the positions unit. I'll be using these terms, we'll use these terms in the discussion for the Pitts reading from chapter 1, the Pitts sort of sample mini argument there. And also as I'm evaluating your position papers, I'm going to be using these terms also as an explanation. So what am we talking about? What am I talking about? The terms here are going to be, let's do the slideshow here, rhetoric versus dialectic. So the two terms are rhetoric and dialectic, and this is an explanation of, in this class, what I will mean by these terms. Okay, rhetoric, I use rhetoric pretty much the exact same way that Crucius is using it. It's writing that is focused on the effect it has on its audience. So it's writing, it's communication where the main focus is on what are the people that are receiving this, the people reading it, the people listening, the people watching, what are their impressions of it going to be. So the kind of person, a person who's sort of very rhetorically minded is, you could say, is someone who constantly has a sense of what other people think of what she's saying. And so in argument, and we think of a sort of rhetorical focus in argument, we think of persuasion and changing minds, the kind of writing that is focused on making people do something, getting people to think differently. Now, the next term, dialectic, I'm going to use this in a slightly technical way. It's based on what Crucius says about the word, but I have a sort of special, I'm going to put a special twist on it. And I'm going to say dialectic is writing that is focused on establishing the truth. Okay? What matters is whether what it says or not is the truth. It doesn't matter what the people hearing it think about it. Doesn't matter, you can think of someone that says, I just tell it like it is. I don't care what people think of what I say. That person, you might say, has a dialectic approach to the communication. Unless, and this is an aside, their actual purpose in communication is to bother people. And so they tell people that all they do is telling the truth, but actually what they're trying to do is cause people grief. And then, so it turns out that they're actually being rhetorical in the first place. But as far as this class is concerned, any evaluation we put on something, if I ask you to evaluate something in terms of dialectic, I'm not going to want you to tell me whether or not what they said was in a good tone of voice, or was pleasant to hear, or it was obnoxious. Like if you say, well, that person has sort of an obnoxious way of presenting their ideas. In a dialectic evaluation, it doesn't matter at all whether they're obnoxious or not. What matters is whether what they're saying is true or not, as far as you can tell. And dialectic then would be something that would apply to investigation, which is how Crucius thinks about it, or with science. We think in terms of science. The presentation, a scientific presentation, has to be dialectically minded. It doesn't have to be rhetorically effective. You read a science paper, and it may be very difficult to understand what it's saying, but the people are not trying to be necessarily comprehensible. They're just trying to present the truth. I'm vastly exaggerating things there and simplifying things, but I think you'll get the sense. Now, when these two terms are presented this way, and if you sort of take a poll, like what's better, rhetoric or dialectic, I think most of the people are going to say, well, dialectic. What matters is whether you tell the truth. The truth is more important than anything else. And you might think of it, rhetoric is like advertising. All that matters is that you buy, and the quality of the product is besides the question. Okay? Beside the question. So advertising is rhetorical, and as we all know, advertising has a terrible reputation. Dialectic would be like a consumer report that is trying to establish whether the product does what the advertisement says it does. Okay, the advertisement isn't going to give you a cold, clear, sober, thoroughgoing evaluation of just how effective their product is. They're just going to try to make it seem as appealing as possible. Okay, and so when presented that way, everyone says, well, the consumer report is obviously a better thing than the advertisement is. But I've got a cautionary tale that shows that the situation might be more complicated than that. And I think one of the things I'd like to present in this class is how the two of these things actually have to go together. And this cautionary the world's most obnoxious man, who is also a passenger on the Titanic. As the ship pulls out of port, the world's most obnoxious man goes around telling everybody that icebergs are going to be a great danger on this voyage. He knows the truth. Okay, he knows that icebergs are a great danger on this voyage. But he's so obnoxious, he's so careless in how he presents things. He doesn't care at all, what the effect he has. No rhetorical concerns whatsoever. He doesn't care at all what the effect of what he says is on people, so no one will listen to him. He's so obnoxious that no one's going to listen to him. And so as the ship sinks, being the obnoxious man that he is, he stays true to his character, and he's going around all around the ship as it's going, all up and down all the decks, and telling everyone, "I told you so," right? He says, "I told you so, I told you so, I told you icebergs were a great danger." Now, the great cautionary tale is, when he drowns with everyone else, what good did being right do him or anyone else? Okay? Did it do him personally any good to be right? He gets to, he's just as dead as the people that were wrong were dead. Okay? It didn't do him any good. And did being right do him, did anyone else any good? He had this great truth, but he couldn't make it, worthwhile for anyone else. I don't think, at least in my way of looking at things, I don't think there's some great scoreboard in the sky that you get extra brownie points for you were right and everyone else was wrong. We all live together, and we're trying, and this is sort of one of the philosophies behind this whole class, is this idea that we're living together, we need to work together on our problems, and we fail or succeed as a group. And so there's no bonus points for being right on these things. Okay, so that's the end of the video. And remember, rhetoric means communication writing that is only focused on the effect, what people think of it. Dialectic is writing communication that is only focused on the truth or the falsity of a statement. If you have any questions on this, please message me.